that's a triple play. New episodes, I couldn't wait. Yeah, open your mind at the first gate. Press play, no need to debate. AoA, check me out. Look, plugged in, you can catch the hype. Golden Dawn, how we follow the light. Anime like life, married to it.
Hello and welcome back to the AoA show. I am your host as always, Ian, along with my boys Isaiah.
What's up?
And Gavin.
What's going on?
And today we are very excited to share our thoughts on, sadly, the final chapter of the Demon Slayer manga. So if you guys have been following us for a little bit now, you'll know that we kind of hopped on board with the last couple chapters. We did like a summarization review up to like chapter 202. That's what was out at the time. And then we've been following it weekly with the assumption that it was going to end soon. And obviously that was the correct way of thinking because this was the final chapter. So we're here to talk about it as, I guess, as a whole, and this chapter specifically as well. So definitely curious to hear your guys' thoughts. For anyone who does read the Demon Slayer manga, definitely sound off in the comments down below. If you do like the content here today, make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell so you can be up to date with when we drop new videos. If you're listening on another platform that's strictly audio, Spotify, iTunes, etc., all your favorite podcast platforms, make sure you guys are throwing a follow in there. Make sure you guys hit us up on the socials as well. We do a lot more than just Demon Slayer reviews, so you'll be able to hit us up on there. That's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And make sure if you guys want to support the podcast just one step further, you can hit us up on Patreon. That's patreon.com/AoA show, or links of all of these are in the description down below. But anyway, getting into the chapter, I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts. So we are definitely in modern time. And we were, last week when we had our episode on the previous chapter, we were like, okay, like, I wonder how this is going to go. We figured the one demon boy was, still going to be alive. And we were like wondering if it was like how far into the future it was. And I would say a lot of our guesses were pretty accurate. But I guess it was going to be like, okay, is this going to be, the demons had a resurgence, or it's like, they're going over the legends of Tanjiro and Inosuke and Zenitsu and the whole gang, and like, what's going to be the vibe here, So we start off and it's basically, the new Tanjiro. It's not really the new Tanjiro. It's a different human being. But he's sleeping and he's going to be late for school. And then it's basically this whole story of the kids going to school or going on with their various lives because they're not all the same age. They're kind of different, but you notice that all of these characters are like almost reskin versions of older characters, and you're like, oh, but then what you realize, and they state it, is that they've basically been reincarnated. Like it's a next life, and it's kind of like this, it's like this heartwarming scene or this set of scenes where you see all of these characters that unfortunately have died throughout the show, or rather the manga, are reborn, quite literally. They're not the same exact people, but they don't have all the same characteristics, but they share a good bit of them, as well as having their own quirky, behavioral things as well. And that's kind of the whole chapter. We get to see, the new Tanjiro, running to school, and he's going past all of these people. You know what I mean? You're seeing them in their daily lives. They're either police officers or like Inosuke's reincarnated form is a botanist, and like there's this whole vibe to it. So I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts. What did you guys think of the chapter as a whole? Is there anything you liked that you didn't like? Was this to be expected? What are your thoughts?
Gavin, you want to go?
Honestly, I was really hoping Isaiah went first because I don't want to like bash it. My whole thing is, while I was reading it, I was really just like thinking to myself, why? Like, I mean, it takes like a couple like scrolls to realize that they've been reincarnated when they have who's having that conversation. Like, honestly, you don't even know the character names. I think that's what annoys me, is when they kind of just like throw in random character names, and it's like the reincarnated version, but it's only for this like one chapter of the book, and it's kind of like I feel like it's almost like a hassle to read it through, kind of like try to understand like the new names, what's going on, and like you're at the end and it was like, what was the point of going through all that effort when there was like nothing to really gain. I mean, I see what they were going with the whole like reincarnation thing, and like they have the like quirky selves and they're going through. My whole thing is, was it actually needed for like coming off the heels of everything that happened prior? Like they could have ended this shit like last chapter, the chapter before, and it would have been perfect. Like right after all the suspense has been like fleshed out, after like pretty much the curtains were called. Now we're just like adding that extra like fluff to maybe get like some quote unquote closure that really you already have gotten. Like honestly, I kind of just feel like this chapter was pointless. Like it's cute, you get to see like different things, and like you were talking about fucking Inosuke, and then like Tamio, that the demon kid, like now he's a painter and he paints Nezuko and all these different things. Or not Nezuko. Wait, was it
No, he
Nezuko that
paints
he was
Tamio.
painting?
No.
Or Tamio he was painting. Honestly, I just kind of like looked it over and I was like, that's cool, but like it wasn't needed for the storyline, and it's, in my opinion, not needed in any way, like for closure wise. And I'm more curious on how you feel about it, Isaiah, because I know how much of a fan you are of just Demon Slayer in general. And like, I don't know. I'm really curious if you like this last chapter. Do you feel it's needed in any way? Or are you kind of in that same like boat where you just kind of wish it wasn't published? I don't know. I'm curious. What do you think about it?
I don't mind it at all. I mean, it's a closure chapter. There's not really anything to gain from it other than getting to see, nice scenes of some of the characters like together and shit who have, who died in the actual story. I think it's a little much to be like, I wish it wasn't ever published. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, because I don't think it is necessary, but that's like, again, that's the point. It's a closure. Like, I don't think this is like doing anything wrong or a curse to Demon Slayer's story. I don't know, it's just a nice cute closure chapter. You get to see a lot of these characters in like a different modern light. I mean, honestly, yeah, that's really all. I don't know, it's cool.
I will say I actually agree. I agree with Gavin. And I don't think it's too much to say that maybe not that the chapter shouldn't have been published per se, but definitely taking a different route. What I will say though, and is that making an end, first of all, writing a story just in general or creating a manga, like hats off, you know what I mean? Like just in general, right? And for anyone who's followed our previous episodes on the subject, we've had virtually almost nothing but praise for the story as a whole and for the creators and everything that goes into it, if you listen to any of those previous episodes. And I will say that creating an ending, at least like the older I get, not that I'm an expert on the subject by any means, I'm really just an observer, but as I've gotten older, I've noticed that it's like, I feel as if it's very tough to make an ending sometimes, and structuring an ending in a proper way and like being able to like tie the knot, on the story in a whole, or like depending on where you're going with it, is something that takes like a lot of skill, I would say. And I would argue that it might be one of the most important things when it comes to a story. I've seen one too many shows, not necessarily anime, but yes, anime as well, that have suffered from this, or stories where it's like they just can't close it properly, or it's like it's just off, and it definitely leaves like a weird taste. And I've also seen stories that probably should have ended a little earlier than they went. Now, I will say again, I wouldn't take this chapter too seriously, but it is unfortunate that I have to say that on the last chapter of the story. It would, so I mean, I do agree with Gavin where it's like, it almost seems not needed, to an extent. I feel as if they probably could have ended it. I see where you're coming from with that, where it's like, not that it shouldn't have been published necessarily, but I could see them have, being able to end it in the previous chapter. It's just interesting. I mean, I don't know. It definitely adds like a little bit of like this air of confusion. And like why? I feel personally to add a personal solution to what I perceive as a problem. Not that this is right, it's all opinion. But I probably would have preferred, if we're trying to harken back to these characters, right, and appreciate them for what they are, and you know, and see that it's like things ended happily, which I feel like we got in the last chapter as well. But I would have personally liked to see something where it's like maybe not present day era, maybe it's like still the lives of Tanjiro and them, but they're older, and we get to see like the kind of more of the after effects of, you know, like how life has been able to go on, you know, without the people that were here to grace us with their presence in previous chapters and unfortunately lost their lives. You know, I guess like a lot of it's implied that it's like, okay, Tanjiro probably ended up with the flower girl, and Zenitsu may have ended up with, you know, with Nezuko or whatever. And not that it's like the end of the world that we don't know some of these things, but I feel like that to me would be a better form of closure to see where the characters we've journeyed with for so long ended up, rather than reincarnated forms of them, like God knows how many years in the future. You know, I guess that was my thing. It was hard for me to like get behind them individually, because it's just like, oh, it's them again, but it's not them, you know? And it's just like, I don't know. It was really a really weird read when I was going through it. You know, that's my opinions on the matter. Not to like obviously bash the whole thing. I don't know. It was just interesting. I did like how new Tanjiro, that's what I'm calling them, by the way. I'm just going to call them new blank, like whatever their thing is, because I'm not going to be able to remember all their names. We've only seen them for a chapter and we'll never see them again. But new Tanjiro, man, apparently is just an athletic freak. I don't know if anybody else was slightly surprised at the fact that he could scale a building within like a second flat, or just like was a parkour master out of like God knows where. I don't know if there's like some breathing technique that has been inherited or something like that or whatever. But it was definitely an interesting sight to see that. I liked Inosuke's reincarnated form, I guess, in a sense. Definitely like the whole I'm one with nature, and you know what I mean? And like, but I'm kind of a ditz because like I let all my plants die or whatever when they went to the thing there. I am curious to know, so okay, I don't know if you guys caught this. You probably did. There's a panel where it says we're here with the oldest person in Japan, the record holding. I can't pronounce his name, but I believe it's from the clan of the people who have the disease on them, which is interesting. Because I wonder if that's, you know, like a grandson or whatever that's like lived and it's like they finally topple that disease, or was that the same person? If one of you guys know that, or if you don't, if somebody could clarify that in the comments below. I don't know if that's the same Yubashiki-san that we've referred to in previous ones, which kind of makes me confused on like how far in the future we've gone. They do refer to Zenitsu as great-great-grandfather, right? Or is it great-grandfather? So okay, gotcha. So that's not too long, right? That's like probably no more than 100 years, I would assume, just if I had to give it a rough estimate. So that's cool to see, I guess, that it's like he himself was able to, I guess, conquer that disease and be the first one in his family to snuff it out. I don't know if his descendants will have it or if he had any descendants, but I thought that was something cute. And I guess that kind of lends to the point I was making, where it's like that was probably my favorite panel because it referred, or the panels that referred to the demon kid that makes the paintings of Tamio, because I guess it referred to characters that we know already, you know what I mean, and we didn't have to like reestablish a connection with in like the term of like 2 panels. So that was cool to me to see those characters that have like been kicking it for a while and like what they're up to and like the whole 9 there. But yeah, I mean, that's really my thoughts personally. I don't know if anyone else has anything to say, if there's any particular panels that they did like, or, you know what I mean, like anything that struck them funny or whatever. But that was kind of, I guess, you know, that was really where I come from reading the chapters. There's not too much more to say on my end besides kind of going through it panel by panel here. But I don't know. Do you guys have any other thoughts on it?
I mean, no, not really. I've sort of already said my piece. I mean, it's a pretty short chapter. Again, not a lot happens. Not a lot is supposed to happen. Yeah, I don't know. I again, I didn't really have a problem with it. I mean, it's, you know, sort of a one shot. It's not like we're gonna see these characters again. So I wasn't really super concerned, I guess, with like getting to like connect with them or, you know, build an established, you know, thing with them. There's enough in the characters from whoever it is that they're obviously supposed to be harkening back to be like, oh, that's cool. And then yeah, and then I was done reading. I don't know. I really didn't have a problem with this, but
No, that's fair enough. And, you know, that's why there's three of us, because we all offer different opinions. And that's kind of, you know, the appeal to this show among some others, is that we're not just dick riding things, but we're also telling you when we do fuck with it, when we don't. You know what I mean? And we definitely have our fair share of disagreements on here. So totally fine. And I could see a lot of people liking this, because it was definitely like a heartwarming chapter, I would say. And definitely like a cute, you know, little homage to the older characters, and like a thanks for reading, like, you know what I mean, like goodbye, like thank you so much, like we've been able to prosper because of the, you know what I mean, the people. Like I do enjoy like the last panel when they have what I would when they have Tanjiro's sword hung up on the wall, and his earrings as well. I don't know if you guys caught that. It's very small, but yeah, that was really cool. That I like that a lot, because it's like they're honoring that heritage, you know what I mean? That was really cute to see. But I'm curious to hear, Gavin, your thoughts on what you would have preferred as an ending, if anything comes to mind, because again, like I always feel as if you could take two stances, right? It's like you could either be like, yeah, I liked this, right? And then you really don't have to offer any sort of solution because you liked it. So like there's really nothing that you would change. And, you know, you talk about the things that you do like and everything. But, you know, when you assume the position of like, I didn't fuck with this, I always personally try and come up with like a solution to what my perceived problem is, even though it's just conjecture and opinion. That way to like shed some light for people that maybe are curious as to why I didn't like it, you know, besides the reasonings I didn't, like see where my mind is at when it's like, well, I would have liked it personally if they went this route. You know what I mean? Like I try and explain myself in that manner. So I'm curious if you had any thoughts on how you would have preferred it to end, if anything. Like, would you just have omitted this last chapter and ended at the last one, or if they had another chapter, or like maybe it was present time, but it was like a different spin on it? I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that, if you have any.
I mean, honestly, what I would have wanted is exactly what you had mentioned prior, and what I believe they actually dropped the ball on, because that's what I thought they were going to do, like moving forward onto this chapter, and that was showing the main characters that were already set in the world that we've been following for this entire time, flash forward into their future to when they're all still more or less alive in their older age, and see how life has went for them after everything that they've been through. I like, and I don't want to like beat this into the ground or anything, but I really can't wrap my head around why they would like carry out the end like this. Like in my mind, it doesn't make sense. Like you had this literally laid out for you on a silver platter on what to do, and like why make it complicated? I don't know. Like I can appreciate what they're trying to do, and like it makes sense for what they were going for. I can't understand why they would. Like I was actually really looking forward to seeing them like an older Tanjiro. Like, did he get married to fucking Butterfly Girl? Like, what did Inosuke wind up doing, or Zenitsu? Like, what was his relationship with possibly Nezuko, and like what does Nezuko do? And like that's the shit like I feel like people want to know, at least at the very least I would want to know. And it kind of just like I don't know. It just rubs me the wrong way. I really would have liked it for it to end it that way. I honestly don't feel like I gained anything from this at all. I literally read it with just kind of a straight face, didn't really smile, laugh, or like feel like I appreciated anything or had anything to take away from it. And that's what annoys me, because like this entire manga, like it throws you for so many loops and gets you so like emotionally turning. Like the ending should make you really feel like warm and fuzzy and happy for everything that has happened, because the whole story has been just putting you through the fucking ringer with them. And I just feel like I didn't get that closure in a way. Like, you know, it was cool, it was dope, you know, they accomplished what they wanted to do, but I really just feel like they dropped the ball on something that was really straightforward and that they could have just followed through with. But honestly, it's still worth the read to get the closure anyway. Like, I'm not saying don't read it. Like, you might as well and see for yourself. And, you know, and comment. If I'm fucking wrong, call me an idiot. Like, I already know people are not going to like my answer to begin with because it is a great fucking manga. And that's why I really am annoyed by it, because of how much I like the manga. And I just feel like they dropped the ball on this one. And that's not bad. Like, everybody does it within a series. No series is perfect, you know, straight to the T. Everything has its own problems. And this is only one fucking chapter. Like, it literally isn't even the end of the world at all. Like, it's not a big deal. They just want it's the closer, wrap it up with the bow, you know, the story's done. Like, I got everything that I needed. I don't know. I didn't feel like this last chapter was, or had a point to it. Or I didn't take away, like, any real, like, life-changing or anything, like, moments or feelings. It just kind of, all right, it is what it is. I read it. It's done. Like, I didn't need to read it, but it is what it is.
No, I think
that's how I felt personally.
I think it's totally fair. You know what I mean? And I don't think you should be too hard on yourself with saying, like, you know, in the comments, say if I'm wrong or, like, call me an idiot. Like, there is no wrong or right answer when it comes to this, right? It's strictly opinion. So if anyone comments that, first of all, you shouldn't, because that's not the way to go about it. You can comment your opinions and why you liked it or why you didn't. But you know what I mean? At the end of the day, it is strictly opinion. So, I mean, that's fine, you know? And I'm curious to see when more people read this, if you and I are in the minority or in the majority. And I'm curious to see how people perceive this last chapter. Because I think this could be pretty split down the middle from, like, it's already been split down the middle between us, and I'm curious to see how people react to it. And again, not that it's really the end of the world. It's just kind of a shame that it's like the last chapter, but again, endings can be tough. So I could definitely see, and again, there were some heartwarming moments, like the very last panel, the thank you so much for reading all this time, looking forward to the next work. Nice. You know what I'm saying? All that kind of stuff was really cute. You got to see the earrings and then the group photo with the squad, and it was like, okay, like everything's good. These people did what they had to do to put it all on the line. My one final gripe is that I wish Inosuke's reincarnated form also wore the boar's head. That would have been so cool if they were like, yeah, she's just like, or he's this like really beautiful botanist, but he wears this weird pig head. And it's like, I feel like it would have been even funnier in modern time if somebody walked around with a boar's head on. I don't know. That's just a particular thing. Inosuke will live in my heart forever. But anyway, those are our thoughts, folks. Thank you so much for listening. Let us know in the comments below what you thought of this final chapter and what you thought of the series as a whole. Did you like it? Did you not? Do you think it's overrated? Did you enjoy this last chapter? Let us know all your thoughts below. We love reading them and conversating with you guys. But until next time, guys, we'll catch you on the flip. Peace out.
Peace.
Hey, folks, thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our new episodes.
You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at AoA Podcast if you want to keep up with our content or suggest new ideas for the show.
You can watch us on YouTube or listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean, or more. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week to talk about all things anime.